What is up? And today we're going to get into Lamar Jackson. But before we get started, I just want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share this with your friends and family, and continue to support my channel. Look, man, heading into this NFL playoff weekend, and when I was just looking at all of the matchups and teams, there was one specific game that stood out to me as far as importance, as far as depending on how the results would go, it could change one person's legacy, whether it's positively or negatively. And that matchup was the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, out of all of the games that has happened over the weekend, and look, there's obviously, there's one more game that's going to happen tonight between the Vikings and the Rams. But out of all of the games, I felt like the Ravens-Steelers game had the most at stake. And specifically for Lamar Jackson. And look, here's my thing with Lamar Jackson. I love him. Lamar Jackson is he's become my favorite player in the NFL. Seriously, he's become my favorite player in the NFL. Like, I love Lamar Jackson. And really, over the course of the last couple of seasons, I have found myself just whenever my Atlanta Falcons aren't playing, I find myself rooting for Lamar Jackson because he reminds me so much. And look, he reminds me so much, speaking of Lamar Jackson, of what Mike Vick was and should have been as a quarterback when back 20 years ago when Mike Vick was playing for the Atlanta Falcons. Like, they're so similar as far as just aura and mystique and just pure hype and excitement. Like, every time Mike Vick was on television as an Atlanta Falcon fan, I would always look forward to watching him play. I would just grab some popcorn, sit on my sofa and just watch this man for 3 hours make plays after play after play for the Atlanta Falcons and at quarterback. And I get the same feel from Lamar Jackson. Like, he's just so dynamic. And the thing with Lamar Jackson is he's a better thrower of the football than what Mike Vick was during his heyday. He's accurate. He can make plays with his arm and with his legs. And he's just special. And so heading into this weekend, there was a lot at stake for Lamar Jackson and for him to perform well because he's had some, everyone knows it. Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, he hasn't been great. He's had a couple of just not so good performances and flame outs, and people kind of got on him a little bit for his performance against the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And, this happens all the time in sports. You have a bad moment, and all of a sudden, especially in the playoffs, you have a bad moment. All of a sudden, we just forget about all the good that you do, and we just overlook, the past accomplishments. And like, this is a guy, Lamar Jackson, who's already a 2-time MVP. Probably is going to be a 3-time MVP because I think he should win the MVP. Over Josh Allen. No disrespect to Josh Allen. But I think Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. And so you got a guy that's a 2-time, probably a 3-time MVP, and he gets scrutinized half of the time as far as the things that he can't do. And, we just overlook the things that he can do. And so for Lamar Jackson, for him, and also, this is a guy, Lamar Jackson, in the Baltimore Ravens, who's playing against their arch rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers. A team that, for most of his careers, kind of had some real success against Lamar Jackson, right? Pittsburgh, they're both in the AFC North. And so they play each other. These are rivals. so to speak. And so there's some bad blood heading into this matchup with the Steelers and Ravens. And I thought Lamar Jackson played outstanding. He was outstanding. Just he was playing his game, not just as a runner, but as a passer as well. And look, the passing numbers aren't going to jump out the page at you. I mean, he was 15 for, I think it was he 15 for 18 or something like that for 175 yards. And so the passing numbers weren't, eye popping, but he was efficient as a thrower. But most importantly, as a runner, he was gashing Pittsburgh with his legs, especially early in the game, as you saw the Pittsburgh Steelers defense trying to key in on Derrick Henry. And so you saw like early in the game, like Pittsburgh was just running the ball consecutively using Lamar's legs, and he was getting outside the pocket. They were calling some called runs, and he was just gashing Pittsburgh's defense on the ground. And all of a sudden, Pittsburgh, as they started to adjust and starting to account for Lamar, it opened up running lanes for Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry had a monster game, to the tune of 186 yards rushing. And so, when you look at the damage that Derrick Henry was able to do on the ground combined with what Lamar Jackson was able to do on the ground, the Baltimore Ravens ultimately ran the ball 50 times to the tune of over 250 plus yards. And so Baltimore was able to gash Pittsburgh on the ground. And that ended up being the difference in the game. And by the way, this is the Baltimore Ravens team that didn't have Zay Flowers, who's their best receiver. And so for the Baltimore Ravens and for Lamar Jackson specifically, for him to just step up in that moment and play his game and to rise up and just take it to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their arch rivals, it was special. It was special to behold. And as a football watcher and as a person that is a big Lamar Jackson fan, I believe this is the start of what I believe is going to be a deep playoff run for the Baltimore Ravens and for Lamar Jackson. And to me, I think we gotta give this man his flowers. We gotta give Lamar Jackson his flowers, because he is a dynamic quarterback. Like there's not many guys that can make plays with their arms and legs as a dual threat the way that Lamar Jackson can do it. There's just not many. Like I said earlier, Mike Vick was something special, as I can attest to as an Atlanta Falcon fan, because let me tell you guys, when Mike Vick was in Atlanta, there was nothing like it. Just the hype, the excitement, the atmosphere in the Georgia Dome, just the excitement and just the electricity of watching this man. Like, there was nothing like it. And and the thing about Mike Vick is Mike Vick should have been better than what he was. Because, look, I don't want to get into the dogfight and stuff, and, it was unfortunate and just sad and disappointing. But Mike Vick, as a passer, he wasn't this. He wasn't what Lamar Jackson is. Lamar Jackson, on the season, passed for over 4,100 yards. And he had 41 touchdowns, not only 4 interceptions. And he also had over 900 yards rushing to go with his passing. So we're talking about nearly 5,000 yards total combined passing and rushing on the season. I mean, that is incredible production. When you're talking about as a passing and running threat as a quarterback. And so this is a guy, man, and Lamar Jackson. Like, I just can't say enough. Like, there's just no one like him. And I thought against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was able to showcase that his abilities. And look, he also had some help from Derrick Henry. Like, we can't forget about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has been amazing for the Baltimore Ravens. Like, this is a guy he's ran for 1,900 yards, and he's averaging nearly 6 yards a carry on the season. And so that's incredible. And keep this in mind with Derrick Henry. I think the reason he's had that production is because of Lamar Jackson. It's because of the threat of Lamar Jackson as a runner. And you just watch that game, you just see what makes Baltimore's offense so special, because you got to worry about Lamar Jackson as a runner. And if you focus too much on Lamar Jackson running the ball, then guess what? The holes are going to open up for Derrick Henry, right? And he's going to gas you through the ground. And if you're worrying about Derrick Henry, then guess what? Lamar's going to gas you through the ground. And if you're worried about the ground game, then guess what? Lamar Jackson is just going to pick you apart with his arm and his accuracy. And he's going to and he's going to find open receivers. And that's what the Baltimore Ravens offense did. And that's what they showcased against Pittsburgh. Just how dynamic of an offense they are. And how much of a load of them offensively that they're gonna be. And look, as we head into this coming weekend, the matchup is set. It's the Baltimore Ravens against the Buffalo Bills. Two elite level quarterbacks with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, two top level MVP candidates. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. This is must-see TV. In the words of Karl Anthony Towns.
That's what movies is made of.
This is what movies
This is what movies is made of.
This is what movies is made of. This is what movies is made of. And so we got a big time game coming up with the Ravens and the Bills. And hey, to me, in my eyes, this is the Super Bowl right here. This is the Super Bowl right here. It doesn't get any better than this. Two elite quarterbacks, two MVP level guys going head to head, tit for tat, toe to toe, eye to eye. And so I'm looking forward to this matchup. And I think for Lamar Jackson, I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I find myself rooting hard for Lamar Jackson, because when you watch him play quarterback, it's reminiscent of what it was for me as a fan watching Mike Vick. And I was a big Mike Vick fan back in the heyday. And so I find myself just saying, man, Lamar Jackson, like, if he can just continue this role, and if he can get to the Super Bowl and win it, and you can beat Josh Allen, and maybe you can beat Patrick Mahomes, and then you win this, and then you get to the Super Bowl and you can win it. I mean, it would just do so much for football fans like myself around the world to realize that, look, man, this dude who's one of us, as a dual threat black quarterback who's dynamic, who comes from that Mike Vick ilk as a talent, for a guy like that to win the Super Bowl, I mean, man, it would do so much for a guy like me. It really would. Because I love watching Lamar Jackson play. I just love watching Lamar Jackson play. I love watching him. I'm a fan of his. And I'm just, look, the Baltimore Ravens still have a lot more work to do, right? Like they got a lot to prove. And look, the Bills is a challenge going up to Buffalo. And like I said, Josh Allen he's pretty effing good himself. And so we got some heavyweights going at it. And so, there's a lot at stake for the Baltimore Ravens and for Lamar Jackson. But I think he's up to the challenge. I believe he's up to the challenge. And, like I said, man, I thought this weekend there was one game that stood out to me, one matchup, and that was Lamar Jackson. And I thought for one weekend, I thought he answered his critics, and I thought he stepped up to the plate, and I thought he delivered in amazing fashion. And let's see. We're going to see if he can do it again against the Buffalo Bills, because hey, Josh Allen and that football team is no joke. And so that's going to be an epic matchup. But look, I want to send my kudos and my flowers to Lamar Jackson for reminding the universe that I'm still that dude, and I'm one of the best in the business, and I'm a Hall of Fame level talent, and I'm on this Hall of Fame trajectory. And I just want to, I want to send my love to him, because I thought he stepped up, and we're going to see if he can do it again.